I got to tell you, this is probably the strongest evidence because it's the one you guys keep coming back to. Bacteria that can't interact with bacteria.
We've mentioned it exactly once.
I got to finish my thought. You got to let me finish my thought.
I just don't like you misrepresenting it. You say you guys keep coming back to it. You brought up the word bacteria, and Russell provided one example. I mean, go ahead.
I think by you guys he meant atheist in general.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, and that's the best you've got. And it's when I say you, I mean that's what I keep hearing from atheists. Every time I say be specific, but you've got to receive that by faith. You didn't observe it. You've got to receive what some other person has told you.
No.
Or some book.
No. First of all, maybe we have different definitions of faith. Because, you know, if Russell tells me that he observed something, I don't necessarily believe it absolutely just because Russell told me.
Do you trust him?
I generally do trust him, yes.
That's faith.
That's not faith because, and not at least in the way that I look at faith, I'm trusting Russell based on a measure of reasonable. I don't trust him completely. I trust him to the degree that is earned based on the actual evidence. If I know Russell to be a generally truthful person, I will believe him to a certain extent. I mean, if he tells me he was abducted by aliens, I don't care how much I like the guy and how trustworthy he is, I'm going to need more evidence than merely his word. But if he says he got a new pet dog, I know that people have pets and pet dogs. Not all claims are created equal, and you assess a claim based on its merits. But let me see if I can find another way to kind of expose this evolution issue with you. We know, to the extent that we can know anything, that, for example, Spanish and Italian are both derivatives of Latin, correct?
I suppose so. I trust you.
Well, okay, that'll be your undoing. We are able to trace back the origins of these languages. We categorize them. We understand that these came out of Latin, and you can see a difference even amongst different English languages. But Spanish and Italian are different, and they both derive from Latin. Find me there is no mother who gave a Latin-speaking mother who gave birth to a Spanish-speaking child. Some people continued to speak Latin. Some people moved off and their Latin changed and became Spanish over time. Some people moved off and their Latin became Italian over time. And at no point was there this the crocoduck of language, the Latin Spaniduck or whatever. People gave birth to kids that spoke the language within their region, and over a great deal of time and a separation regionally, they became different, distinct languages. That is directly analogous to what happens with species under evolution.
Okay.
Okay. I wasn't expecting an okay.
No, I've got to say, it's okay. It's what you guys believe, and you just hang with that if you so wish. I don't believe it.
I know you don't, but...
Do you also not believe that Spanish and Italian have a common
You've already told us why you don't believe it.
Why don't I believe it?
You said that you don't believe it because you don't like to take things on faith. And I said that this isn't something we're taking on faith. This is something that there is massive amounts of evidence for. I mean, have you bothered to...
It's evidence that you believe.
Yes,
okay,
of course.
I don't believe that evidence.
Right.
Okay? This
and
is what I believe.
Why don't you believe that evidence?
Because of this. I know God. I've known God since 1972, 25th of April, 1:30 in the morning. His word tells me that he created man in his own image with a moral responsibility. That's what separates man from the animals. We have a moral understanding. And he made man with the ability to recreate after his own kind, and he made them male and female. Evolution, the theory of evolution, doesn't give me any of that information. You don't know where we came from. I've never had any evolutionists explain to me why male and female are in everything but slugs
Actually,
and
you
worms.
have. I've got records of where they explained it.
Let me finish. I haven't had evolutionists explain to me why we have in 1.4 million different kinds on this earth, except for slugs and worms, why there's male and female. We keep coming back to this population thing. I asked how come, were we all once fish? And evolutionists say, yeah, we were. And they explained to me that fish came up in groups to develop lungs or evolve lungs while on the land. They developed the lungs under the water. And I just can't believe that. I don't have that sort of faith.
I understand. And what you've just said is something that I brought up earlier that you denied. You don't believe the evidence. You don't accept the evidence because you have a presupposition that it's wrong.
There's no evidence.
Now there's no evidence.
There's changes in bacteria and flies that can't interbreed with each other.
No, I mean, we're talking about transitional fossils and dinosaurs and all kinds of things. But you said that you didn't have a presupposition, and now you're saying you don't believe the evidence, and now you're saying there is no evidence because you already believe what the Bible says about origins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's called a presupposition. And are you infallible?
God is.
Okay, but are you?
Of course not.
Could you be wrong about God?
I could be wrong about God, but God's not wrong.
Okay, if you could be wrong about God and you are necessarily contingent on your own personal experience, how do you know you're right?
Because for 22 years I was wrong. I had to admit my wrong and say God is right, He is justified, I can trust Him, and then I came to know Him.